Sandra, I'm blown away by your flats and your gardens all around the flat.
I know, the garden makes all the difference.
Oh, everything makes a difference, doesn't it? I mean, I knew it would be colourful. I knew there would be patterns involved because this has been your thing, textiles. You started to make it really big in your 20s, early 20s, didn't you?
Middle 20s probably.
And in this amazing room here in your flat, at the top of your textile...
Fashion and Textile Museum is at the bottom. And then I have one flat, my bedrooms and underneath, and library, and then here is really my sort of living space with the kitchen, open plan, and the dining room table and everything.
And everywhere it's stuffed with things that you've worked on or been given or
Things
something.
to get dusty.
Yeah, nothing. I can't see anything you could buy off the shelf. Not one thing, I don't think. And this is your iconic table where you entertain.
Oh yes, that's the entertaining table.
Yeah, and every week, even now, I have to say, you are amazing for your 80 plus years. Your skin is phenomenal.
Not enough gardening, maybe.
Not enough gardening. If you'd been out in the sun like me, Sandra, you too could look like me. But I'm amazed at your skin because you always say I never take my makeup off. And, you know, if you look at any magazines, the whole routine of cleansing, toning and all this stuff, it just makes me think, it is all guff, isn't it? Soap and water and not take your makeup off.
Maybe it's also luck. Maybe it's luck.
Anyway, these are your favourite colours, obviously, aren't they?
Well, this is the whole rainbow, so it goes pink, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, right to the purple at the end.
I hadn't twigged that. I see. And the wall's the same.
And it creeps up the wall, so it creeps up the wall to be the same colour as it goes along.
And this is totally your inspiration.
So it's my inspiration, yes.
Really successful, isn't it? Do many people twig what you've done? Is it just me that's stupid and didn't realise it was
we were working hard on our interview.
I suppose so. I was trying to get that in mind. But a lot of everything about you fascinates me, to be honest. The fact that you started off as a little girl being really hard-working, very swotty, and then you made it through, and always you've had this amazing energy. And you start off with designing textiles, and then you make it big in New York by going there to break New York, as it were, or whatever the term is. And you did it big time with your collections all being featured in Vogue. And it's the whole thing about that side of you, you know, mixing with the jet sets, creating wonderful pieces for people, everyone from Freddie Mercury to Princess Diana, to Princess Anne's engagement outfit. And then at the same time, you listen to Radio 4, Gardener's Question Time, The Archers, you make your own bread. And it just seems like you do everything.
Oh, it just appears like that. I'm sure I don't really.
And you still even entertain every week pretty much, even now. You put me to shame.
I always think that I don't see enough of my friends. So if I'm in town, I normally will try and do a dinner with a few friends that might be passing through. Definitely if someone comes to town, I'll try and but I only do it in a weekend. I only do it a Saturday or a Sunday. In the week, I can't cope with that.
You're still focused on your work.
Yes,
yeah.
I go out to dinner, but I couldn't do a dinner party.
Right, no, I'm with you there. God, I find it difficult enough at the weekend, certainly not every weekend. It's the energy, amazing. But so you've always been a keen gardener, I've realised that. And your first garden was in Notting Hill.
My first garden was in my house in Notting Hill, and it was just a tiny, first of all, it was the backyard that was very dark, so I had to learn to grow plants that didn't need sun.
Yeah.
So I could do camellias, and I learned hydrangea petiolaris, ferns, you know, ivy.
Yes.
Things that grow in darker conditions, and then gradually learning the beauty of the plants, and then being here in this environment with three sides all having different things to do. It was a wonderful way to learn about things, you know, the camellias, the shadier camellias on the northern side, and then the pathway of the white hydrangeas, and then colourful flowers at the sunny side.
And you've used colour on the walls, hard colour as well, haven't you? You've brought the building, I have to say, is amazing. When you look at it, we were driving around lost, but you see this wonderful orange building, which
the orange is great with the pink front, which was Riccardo Liguretta, which is fabulous.
Really, really successful, isn't it? Really stands out, has a real
And
presence.
it's very jolly.
Yeah,
You know, and then we've got the shard in at the end, which is great to bring the area happening and making people realise they can come to the Fashion and Textile Museum, or this will be the head of the Zandra Rhodes Foundation, where people can come and study my work in the end, here in the penthouse.
I see, that's the whole aim of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And you've also created a garden in California with your late partner.
Well, I had a wonderful terrazzo artist from Australia, David Humphreys, who did my magical patterns all in terrazzo, and then I had big stones, and then I grew what is it? New Zealand flax.
Phormium.
Very
Phormium
wonderful, hardy plant. Gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah. I got some from a roof garden in Catford when we were renovating it, and I took some back, and that grew on a roof garden about 5 stories up with no water, and it still looks
very
strong.
hardy.
Very, very
fabulous.
Tough.
Yes.
Yeah. So your interest stems from the flower fairies, reading those books as a
the
wee
flower
child.
fairies were a wonderful learning curve for children for flowers. Just gorgeous.
And then your mum took you out and studied flowers with you.
My mother we'd go round and we'd learn the flower fairy poems, and we'd look for the different flower fairies. And my sister Beverly does the same with her children and grandchildren. So it's quite wonderful.
And they featured a lot in your designs, haven't they? And when you went to Japan,
I drew the lilies that I'd been given by Issei Miyake. It was wonderful.
Let's go outside and have a look.
Welcome, lovely.
Sandra, I knew you wouldn't have a boring garden, but I'm sure outside here, everything tells a story as well. It's something you've collected. Now, but what horticulturally, though, I'm fascinated by this cycas, this sago palm. Hardy, obviously.
Well, it's proved to be hardy. It was originally about 2 feet high in a pot that they bought for the museum, and I kept saying to them, that plant isn't going to live because you haven't giving it enough light.
Yes.
Eventually they wheeled it up to me in a wheelbarrow and said, you can have it, because I could see it wasn't doing very well. So I stroked it gently and I said, if you don't grow for me, you don't stay. So they always get that, because I read this book called The Secret Life of Plants, so I do talk to them.
I think it's, what I think it is, it's talking like Prince Charles, but it shows that you care and you're looking after it. And there's that old saying, which I keep trotting out, the shadow of the gardener is the best fertilizer. And it's just the fact that you're watching him, you're interrelating with him.
Oh, it's grown. Well, I mean, look at it. And it has lots of little, I think it must be a rhizome, because it has little baby shoots that come up.
And then you pull them off and pop them up. And
pot them up and give them to friends and hope they get the same. But this one's been doing wonderfully.
No, it's amazing. So I think they go down to -5 maximum, but here you would be mild, wouldn't you?
It's mild, but all the pots are wrapped in bubble wrap in the winter.
Yeah.
They're wrapped in bubble wrap so that their roots don't freeze.
These lions, I've got to ask you about the lions. So what is the significance of the lions?
I did the Magic Flute Opera in California, in San Diego, and these were shields so that when the King Sarastro comes on, men would come forward, so it really was being drawn in by lions.
And you made, they were made.
I had them made. I did the drawing, and they're made out of fiberglass.
So there's quite a few fiberglass elements here.
So,
interesting.
yes.
Yeah. I sometimes use Peter Evans. He makes things for stage, and he has a massive catalogue of lots of fiberglass and things, moulds of things.
Oh, that
like
are great
columns.
for gardens. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
well, he's
yes.
done it for Covent Garden, places like that. But they take any finish, and they are weatherproof. So they are phenomenal for vases, urns, lions, anything. But those are spectacular. I like your colour. So you've got
The
mauve.
corner is a white rose.
Yes.
And then I get, that's a quince that has little red flowers.
Yes.
I've got a sort of climbing pink rose that goes across there. And then the rest are pink. Well, I've got a lovely pink buddleia, but the rest are, I've got quite a lot of peonies. The currants, I get a handful of currants. But it reminds me when currants are in season, so I go and buy them to make summer puddings.
The olive, obviously
The olive tree.
Very tough, aren't they? Very
The
tough.
olive's tough. It's got quite a lot of olives, but I don't think they really, they don't really develop very much. But they do grow olives, and squirrels appear from nowhere and bury them. I mean, amazing.
They bury everything, don't they?
I
They
know.
really do. And your buddleia is the best colour for you, isn't
It's
it?
a lovely pink buddleia that got given to me, and there, is that a bee? I don't think so. I think it's an insect of some kind. But anyway.
The peonies are looking remarkably well, because they say they don't do very well in pots, but because they can get the rots. But yours obviously are looking
Hope they
good for this
stay
time of
okay,
year, and the
yes.
acer's doing well.
The
Yeah.
acer's doing well.
So your clever idea is the storage system. So you've got these artificial rocks.
The artificial rocks either are a few garden tools or otherwise the plastic, the bubble wrap that then gets put round the pots once the cold comes. Like usually November, we wrap all the pots.
Yeah, yeah.
So that they stay, their roots don't freeze. These were pot plants in 1973.
These yuccas, they're amazing, aren't they? Really large. You've tied them together, I see.
Oh
to
well,
stop
they're
them
tied so that if there's a terrible wind, this will hold them from falling down.
Right. God, it's
But I
extraordinary.
can't get
outfit,
round to
isn't it?
repotting them at the moment. These columns are, I think they're Doric. No, they're Ionic.
Yes.
And one did fall over, so it's upside down. But they're actually from the Rocky Horror Show, where Frankfurter comes down the staircase surrounded by all those white columns. We all bought them for £1 each from the Rocky Horror Show set.
Oh, amazing. And you painted them? Or were
Yes,
they...
no, we painted them.
They're good, aren't they? I love the colour rays on columns. It's given them a totally new look, hasn't it? So this is your hydrangea side, where you see the
This
white...
is the hydrangea terrace, yes. Which, as I say, I don't think they've been doing as well as they should do, but anyway.
Yeah, I just think if you take... I think they've been in those pots for 10 years, so I think they're a massive
Take
root.
them out,
Take them
undo
out.
them.
Yeah, put some fresh soil, because all that soil will have gone to clag. There'll be no little
And you
air
don't
left
think
in
I'll be
it.
getting those horrible green and greeny leaves? You think
No,
they'll be all
I
right?
think that's due to deficiency of some nutrients, because
Oh.
there's just not the air in the soil, so it's not. a
Oh,
healthy
so you
rooting
might
medium.
be lucky. You might be able to stay.
Don't chuck them out, Sandra. don't chuck them out. And your thyme, you said it's woody. I had the best year of thyme ever once when my sheep got out. And
Oh.
they came and they grazed
Ate
my
the
thyme, the whole lot. And then it grew back these wonderful, lovely shoots.
Oh, so
And
I should
you
really cut
should
it right
cut
down.
back. It's a little bit late now, I think, because well, you're not going to get frost, but we're now in end of September, so ideally, sort of June-ish, I often do it, and you can do it
Oh,
sequentially.
right.
You need to do
Oh,
the whole
lovely.
lot. But because when it's young, it's much easier to pull off the
Yes,
things,
to get-
isn't
yes.
it? And you don't have to always take the stalks off. You can
I
just
love the
chop it
smell
up.
of thyme.
So do I. And I use it in so many dishes, and I even just put it in hot water. And it's
Oh,
a
well,
nice
I did the other
thyme
day,
tea.
some milk went off and I made cream cheese and put thyme. My sister said, put thyme in it, and I put thyme and salt, and it was lovely.
Really? And how do you make cream cheese then? Just
Well, just
warm
drain it, and
Yeah.
then mash it with either some herbs and things.
Oh, that's a lovely idea. That's really nice. And marjoram have you got there or something?
I
Yeah.
think that's marjoram, but I think it's got a few extra weeds. Maybe it looks to me like Herb Robert has found
Oh yes,
its way into
yeah,
there.
yeah. I've got loads of that at home. So let's go. Oh, there's one of those columns there.
Oh, there's the columns. You can see it more closely here. Then
Yeah.
mint only in a pot by itself because the rhizomes go everywhere, so it
Yeah.
only has its own pot.
Yeah, has to be, doesn't it?
I'm thinking of having a greenhouse, a little greenhouse where I could grow gourds, so it looked very mysterious, but that's all that's in there. But that's just one of those magic columns there.
So where did you get these magic columns from?
They were originally in a shop in the King's Road called the Prop Shop.
Yes.
And I bought them for £1 each in about probably 1964. And they've moved with me from house to house.
And they are made of?
They're fiberglass.
Fiberglass. And you painted them?
And painted them, and they just sit there.
They're wonderful, really wonderful. So this is where you're thinking of putting a greenhouse?
Thinking of a little lean-to greenhouse where I can just sort of maybe keep things in there. And
it's so nice to have some space when it's wet, isn't it? You can just go out and do it.
I could sit out here and potter around.
Yeah. Don't make it too small, because I do think with a greenhouse, as soon as you put it up, you wish you'd done it twice the size, and it goes on and on and on. They are great spaces, and you could just sit there and look at all this.
Yes, you can see other people growing things, so it's lovely.
Yeah. And this space is phenomenal.
And then it does get windy, so this closes, so it
filters the wind.
Off. Yes.
Yeah. Come buffeting. So this is the north side.
So this will be early spring. This will be all camellias. I mean, all camellias in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So this has a very different atmosphere, doesn't it? The shady side.
This is the shady side, and so. Although probably it's north side, but it does get a bit of sun, but it's quite happy in here.
And do you use this for entertaining ever as well? You use all of it, presumably?
If I was having a dinner and it's fine, I could put some little candles and people can walk all round, or they just look outside. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And camellias. Phenomenal.
Well, I just adore camellias, and they're such good value. I mean, they'll start flowering, late January, early February, and they really stay in bloom for probably, I reckon, you get a good month out of them.
And then you've always got the structure.
And then they look green and gorgeous all the rest of the time. Although this one's this one will bloom in November, this little one here.
Right, yes. So you've got a bit of succession, haven't you, really? And obviously, now, what is this?
He's a Mexican shack mule, where apparently in Mexico, that part, you know, it's where they put the hearts on its hands. You know, they cut a living heart that would be on there. Very cruel, but he's just a gold statue.
And where did you get him from?
He was originally for a party in the gambling club of Aspinalls, and then it was in someone's home, and they had it at the end of their garden, and I always said that statue is the most amazing thing.
So how did you get it?
Well, one day my great friend Moya Bowler, the shoe designer, had that in the back of her garden, and she said, "Sandra, I'm going to give you that for Christmas." And I said, "Can I take it now?" And I put it on the top of my Mini, strapped it on, because it does look as if it's stone, and people would just be stopping, watching me going along in a Mini with this as big as the Mini. But in fact, you can lift it with one hand.
So it's polystyrene?
It's polystyrene,
So they've
yes.
just carved it with a knife
They
or with a hot wire?
I haven't got a clue. I just got given it, and I love it.
It does make you think, doesn't it? You know, that we could use more materials like that.
Exactly.
For statues, and you could do anything at all. And it's extraordinary, isn't it? And it's dynamic in this space. It really is.
And then the whole thing's just built on steps, and then it's a raised bed that's in plastic, so there's no earth on my terrace. That's all, you know. So it's not. So the ivy lives underneath everything in a plastic where there's some soil. I see
what you're saying. So this is just laid on the membrane of the roof,
yes.
The tiles.
Yes.
And
then there's a layer where there's heavy plastic, and it's got soil in it where the ivy has its roots to.
Because that's doing incredibly well. Because I imagine there's not a lot of soil there.
Can't be that much soil, no.
It's always difficult with the loading on a roof garden, isn't it? Because something like that is quite heavy.
Well, the guy who was in charge of building this terrace always comes in and looks and goes, "Oh, but I mean, I couldn't live without a garden." Oh no.
It's different, but they have to allow, don't they, for snowfall?
Yes.
On a building, they have to allow for whatever weight.
But it gets a lot of wind, so that wall stops the wind there, and here I've got glass on there.
Oh,
so
right.
Because originally some of the pots blew over in the wind.
I have to say, I think the pink is so great, isn't it? I've never seen that pink shade.
It's nice
used in
with
a
pink,
garden.
isn't it?
No, and it is really, really good. It just sets it all off, doesn't it? Really livens it. Really livens it. So just tell me about your hair, Sandra, because everyone who perhaps hasn't heard about you before, this is the most iconic thing about you, would you say?
I find it's very useful. I decided I didn't want to go grey anyway, so I keep it pink as it stands.
And initially you did use a textile dye.
And originally I used a textile dye that didn't really stay at all. But
Yes.
then they started to develop pink dye called Pinkissimo, and it's bleached white and then dye, but now it's grey underneath and I don't have to bleach it as often. It seems to stay pink. It would do me.
And when you first developed this look, you didn't realise what a fantastic asset it would be.
No, I didn't. So it's very useful.
Yes.
Or it can be unuseful if people always knew where you are or what you're doing. You can't do anything terrible secretly.
Well, you could just get a hat, couldn't you?
I
and
could
then, and then you'd be
I could wear a hat.
incognito.
That's it, yes, I could wear a hat.
No, I think it's great. I feel very dull in comparison. Anyway, this has just been so fascinating. I'm blown away by your totally different approach, by your ebullience of plants to go with your ebullience of your whole personality. And I love the way you've got the three different aspects and you've used them really well.
It's been such a treat having you here, thank you.
Pleasure. And I'm going to take a leaf out of your book, I think.
We'll find you a statue.
Yeah, I
You'll
think
have
so.
to get me down to your place and I can come and have a look.
And you can carve me one.
That would be lovely.
Yes, okay, I'll take you up on that.